You know, I have seen what many consider some of the most popular and iconic of animal attack movies. And while the ones I have seen I have very much enjoyed, I never really found them that much scary. Here are some examples. Jaws. One of my favorite Steven Spielberg films, in my personal opinion. When I think of my favorite Spielberg films, this is what I think of. But I don't really find it that scary. Yeah. Or I've also seen the movie Crawl, which, in my opinion, is an incredibly underrated and extremely fun nature attack movie about alligators in Florida. It's pretty fun, but again, I don't really find it that scary. The original Piranha, directed by Joe Dante, again, fun time, but not very scary. So why? Why in the hell does this movie scare the ever-loving fuck out of me? Why is it the movie with the killer chimp that scares the shit out of me more than any nature attack movie I have ever seen? Hey guys, I'm Zach the Movie Fan, and just a quick heads up, if my voice sounds a little bit off, I apologize for that. I think I'm starting to get sick. Which is funny. I'm pretty sure that I probably got it from the movie theater I went to. Which, I mean, yeah. How fitting is that, considering the movie we're talking about? Primate was written and directed by Johannes Roberts, who's most well known for 47 Meters Down, The Strangers Pray at Night, and future review subject, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Yeah, so far this guy doesn't sound like he has the best resume. Yeah. Primate tells a story of a woman named Lucy who is returning to her family home on a summer break from college. She reunites with her family, which includes a pet chimp named Ben. You see, Lucy's mother was a scientist, and she adopted Ben when he was little, making him a member of the family. However, one night, a mongoose breaks into Ben's enclosure and bites him, infecting him with rabies. And the entire fun night turns into a night of survival as the rabies infected Ben goes on a killing spree. So as I previously stated, in the short video I made, I had no real ambition to see this. The trailers did not look very promising, to be perfectly honest. And I just thought the whole concept was dumb and extremely lazy. The whole thing just sounded like Cujo, but with a chimpanzee instead of a dog. And it just really did not sound... It just really did not sound like it would be that good. The only reason why I went out to see it is because everyone said it was apparently really good. Like, critics were absolutely raving about this. And if you look all across YouTube, you'll find other people, a majority, that say they really enjoyed it. So I finally said, all right. So I saw it last night, and let me tell you, I was not expecting to be absolutely fucking terrified while watching this. I think a part of why I thought this movie was going to be dumb is because I will be perfectly honest, I haven't seen a lot of movies out there that depict chimpanzees or primates in general as threatening. Even even the films that people often bring up when talking about antagonistic primates, like King Kong, Planet of the Apes, or even slasher films like Monkey Shines. I'm not saying they're bad movies, but they never really scared me, and I never really felt intimidated by them. Um, but this movie reminded me that chimpanzees can be fucking terrifying, and I think I may have even developed a phobia because of it. Man, but yeah, this movie reminds you that chimpanzees are not animals to be fucked with. Like the very first thing we see Ben do in the film, in the opening, is grab a guy and tear his goddamn face off with his bare fucking hands. That is literally how the movie starts. And holy shit, is it a tone setter. Yeah. There's a lot to like in this movie, to be perfectly honest, so let me get the negatives out of the way real quick. Um, it goes without saying that in terms of writing, this movie is, I don't want to say awful, but not particularly good either. It is a very simplistic premise. But to be fair, it does get a lot of mileage out of it. But there are some things about the story that do really bug me. Probably the biggest one, and I'm sure you've heard other people mention this in reviews. Like I said, Ben in the film gets rabies after getting bitten by a mongoose. There's just one small issue. The movie is set in Hawaii, and Hawaii does not have rabies. Now, but that's not the reason why it bothers me. The reason why this bothers me is because the movie mentions that. Yeah, the Lucy and her sister have a father who's deaf. He's currently off doing a book signing. And he takes the dead mongoose over to somebody to test it, and it tests positive for rabies, and the deaf dad says there is no rabies in Hawaii. So the movie actually acknowledges it, but it never comes back up again. Like, why? Like, what was even the point of addressing that? Why didn't you, like, you probably should have you could have just, like, omitted that from the script, and we would have been fine with it. I mean, sure, animal experts would point it out, but most regular audiences, like me, would probably not even mention it. And the reason why we're mentioning it is because the film brought it up, but didn't go in depth with it. What was even the point of bringing that up if you're not going to follow it up with anything? The hell? The characters in the film are also pretty one note and to be honest, forgettable. However, I don't want to say that these characters are awful. Because while these characters are bland and generic, they're not annoying, or make me hate them. That's the thing I really fucking hate with horror films, especially slasher films. I cannot stand horror films that make the main characters the most unlikable dickheads. Like it comes off as so lazy to me because it's like the writers well, duh, if the characters are so unlikable that the audience will just love to see them get killed off. No, that's not the feeling I get. When you put unlikable characters in your slasher film, I'm saying oh my god, we're stuck with these motherfuckers for like 30 minutes until they get killed off. Oh my god, I'm going to fucking hate this. It's so lazy. So fucking lazy to just make your character so despicably unlikable so he could get some amount of glee from them getting killed off. It's so fucking lazy. I cannot stand it. I mean, granted, there are exceptions to that rule, like the movie Thanksgiving. A lot of the main characters in that film are not good people, but they still have like some kind of charm to them. And they at least kind of had the excuse they were just dumbass kids that made a major fuck up. Like, but like that's very rare. My point is, while the characters in Primate are generic, they're not unlikable. And when they did get killed off, I did feel a little bit sorry for them, mostly because of the very grisly and graphic ways that they died. Even Lucy doing things where she's constantly making noise, which I can forgive her a little bit for because Lord knows if I was in her situation, I would be fucking panicking as hell. I mean, I'm not saying that she does. I'm not saying that these characters don't make any dumb decisions. They do. It's just that I never really hated any of the characters. Like, if you're not going to make your characters interesting, don't make them unlikable. That's all I ask. Yeah. Also, I do feel that, like, the connection between the family and Ben was definitely downplayed a lot. Like, the movie goes at a breakneck pace. Like, even, like, and, that's fine. It actually helps the movie out a lot in some circumstances, but it also kind of hurts the film as well. We don't really get a lot of time to see Ben with the family before he's bitten and goes crazy. There's only like one scene in the film where he's like nice and friendly with everybody. The entire rest of the film he's in full on fuck you mode. And that would be all. Yeah. And that is kind of a problem because because you really don't feel much sympathy for Ben. This isn't like, say, Cujo. Cujo spent a lot of time showing his slow descent into a monster due to rabies. Like, you saw Cujo's descent from a nice innocent dog into a vicious killer. But you don't really get that with Ben here. So when Ben starts attacking, you don't really feel any real amount of sympathy. I mean, I'm not saying you need to dedicate like the entire film to seeing Ben get along with the family more, but like just a little bit more screen time, I think would have been nice. Also, there is a subplot in the film where Lucy's younger sister gets bitten by Ben, and they have to use like a piece of someone's shirt to like tie a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. And after she gets bitten, she pretty much does almost nothing until like the very end of the movie. And it really doesn't feel like there's enough sense of urgency, to be honest, when it comes to her condition, because one, she could bleed out if they don't get that wound taken care of. But more importantly, there's a very high chance that because Ben bit her, she has rabies. Granted, I'm not a doctor, but I did see some other people's reviews of this movie. One person in particular, Andy from Stitch Together Pictures, he says that rabies is treatable if you catch it in time. Like once the symptoms start to show, there's no cure. And and the sister spends like the entire movie not showing any symptoms at all. Maybe you could argue that she got lucky and didn't get infected, but that's a that's a stretch. Like the rabies thing, I don't even like the fact that she might have rabies, I think is only brought up once and never really again. It's odd. But that's all the negatives. Let's get into the positives, what the film does right. A lot. For starters, as I mentioned, Ben is fucking terrifying. Again, this movie is a reminder that chimpanzees are really fucking strong and can and will fuck you up. The gore in this film is crazy. The amount of shit that Ben does is vicious. I already mentioned the scene where he rips a dude's face off. But in other scenes he bashes someone's head in with a rock, eviscerates someone with a fucking shovel, and rips some dude's jaw off. It is fucking terrifying. I don't know what it is. I think because usually chimpanzees, at a glance, they don't look that threatening. So when you see something that you see usually depicted as cute and innocent, as something so fucking vicious, it's terrifying. Because you just don't expect it. I mean, I know that, obviously Primate isn't the first one to do a concept like that, show the horrors of the chimpanzee. A lot of people like to point to the infamous Gordy scene from Jordan Peele's Nope. But I'm going to be honest, I never really found that scene that terrifying. I mostly found it odd and confusing. Everything Ben does in this film scares the fuck out of me. I swear, next time I see a chimpanzee in a zoo, I might have a panic attack. I also really liked, I think a lot of what also helps with making Ben scary is the effects work and the actor that plays him. The actor that played Ben had to go through a lot of shit in order to make this role work. He had about 8 weeks to get training from someone on how to accurately move like a chimpanzee. But that was the only reason why the chimpanzee suit was such a pain in the ass. On top of having to spend that time learning how to moving around in the costume was a challenge in of itself. He could barely see because the context didn't give him a lot of visibility, on top of the mask also obscuring his view. And he actually needed these, I think, hearing amplifying things inside the mask, because the mask made it so he could barely hear. In the end, it really worked out well. When Ben moves around, it really looks convincing, and it adds so much to the suspense and tension, because he's really there. Further proof that when it comes to practical effects versus CGI, practical effects, especially in terms of horror, is much more effective. I mean, there's a couple of scenes that where you can kind of tell it was digital, but 90% of the film, it looks practical, and it's awesome. I also really liked the dad a lot in the film. For starters, the actor playing him did a fantastic job, which is no surprise, considering that this actor actually won an Oscar. I actually think I remember this guy. I think he was in a movie where everybody everybody like communicated via sign language. It was a big hit at the Oscars a while back. Um, so I'm kind of familiar with this actor, and he does a fantastic job. Not to mention he's also kind of a badass. Um, first, like, I'm getting ahead of myself though. For starters, I like when the dad shows up because the dad is deaf. He doesn't immediately hear. He doesn't hear like all the crazy shit happening, and that does add to the tension. It reminded me a lot of the movie Hush, which is a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. I highly recommend it. But when the dad actually does realize what's going on and when he gets involved, he's kind of a badass. He immediately jumps in and like fucking punches the shit out of Ben, like fighting him off like crazy. Like, dude, go this guy. He's fucking awesome. Seriously, I would love to see this guy in other horror movies. He was great. The direction and cinematography is also fantastic, which helps a lot with the suspense and tension. I have heard from some people that they think the lighting is too dark. I personally didn't have any issues seeing the film. Also, the soundtrack in the film is great, like really good. Like, it is very rare I come across a new horror film that has a fantastic and memorable soundtrack, but goddamn, this movie does. The guy who did the music is named Adrian Johnston, who I've never even heard of before, but I might want to keep an eye out for this guy if he's doing the score, because the score for this film is fantastic. It's um it's a very old school score that gives off a very 80s synth feel, something reminiscent of John Carpenter or the band Goblin. And it just sounds fucking fantastic. Not only not only not only is it just a great soundtrack, but that just sounds awesome, but it also surprisingly does fit the mood and tone a lot. Despite the fact that the movie doesn't even have an 80s look or aesthetic. Yeah. I also do greatly appreciate the fact that the film doesn't really waste a lot of your time. I know I did bring up some complaints about the runtime and how it doesn't give enough time to establish some connections between characters, but but it actually does work mostly in the film's favor. The movie doesn't waste your time. It's only about 89 minutes. Andy said it best. The movie jumps in, does some crazy shit, and goes away. It doesn't waste your time, it gets to what you're here for, and it ultimately delivers. It's a fantastic film, and again, one that I did not expect to scare the ever-loving fuck out of me. There's very few movies I can recall where I go in absolutely terrified. Seriously, my favorite horror film from last year, Weapons, that movie had really scary scenes. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but Primate scared me more. Like, this movie just really got under my skin. So, in conclusion, Primate is awesome. It has some issues, but it works in the categories where it really needs to. It doesn't waste your time. has some fantastic gore and kills. The makeup and practical effects is fantastic. The acting, while mostly subpar, is serviceable. I loved the deaf dad in the film. The soundtrack was incredible. It had great suspense, tension, atmosphere. The cinematography was fantastic. This movie was just wild. Primate gets an A-. I loved the hell out of this movie. If you have not seen this film, or because you think the concept is dumb like me, really give it a shot. You may be surprised. So, Primate, have you guys seen it? What do you guys think of it? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like what you see here, hit the like button, and the subscribe button, and the bell so you never miss a video. That's all I got for tonight, guys. See you later.